polite yet stern, patient yet persistent. That not only describes the type of content creator that Rob Bolton is, it describes the type of neighbor he is. As the guy next door with the barking dog and the omnipresent van is discovering out there in Arizona. We let Rob unburden himself of all that information, which he shared in the green room. And now it's on to business as we talk about the Memorial Tournament this week in Dublin, Ohio. What's happening, big fella?
My neighbor does not know the kind of power that we yield here on Talk of the Tour. It's internet blowtorch. We have a new neighbor. I've been here 11 years. I have never had any issues. He's new, and the things he's presenting are new to me. So we'll have a weekly update, I'm sure, as we move forward. How you doing, pal? Good to see you.
Deep cleansing breaths. Breaths. Fire up your Ujjayi breath. 49th edition of the Memorial Tournament. 49 golf course adjustments, I think, through the years by Jack Nicklaus at Muirfield Village, right? Some of them significant, others more subtle. This year's, I think, is going to make what has been the hardest par 3 on the PGA Tour a little more manageable at 16, and the players are very much on board with it, I think.
I love listening to Jack Nicklaus's annual presser at Muirfield Village, and after the renovation 3 years ago, it was right around that time when he had said something like, yeah, I think we're done. I think in his lifetime, he's done. He's not done. I mean, and that's what I opened up with the power rankings. Like, an artist is just never done. You're never done crafting and molding and shaping and creating and presenting. And I mean, he has a gift for it in the context of Muirfield Village. He listens. This week, he talked about maybe it was his problem with the 16th hole, and he wasn't necessarily picking up on why. And they looked at the shot link data and decided that we needed to soften the challenge on this hole. It's a lot of all or nothing, and that's not how he likes to present the golf course. And yeah, I mean, every third year, it was the hardest par 3 on the PGA Tour. So now they've moved the tee over 30 yards. The water is not as much in play. So you still have tough hole locations on the left side, depending on wind and all the things that, factor into every other hole on every other golf course. But yeah, he's never done. It's almost like you could have a special market in a betting house of what's next at Muirfield Village. Take a guess. You probably won't be wrong, because he starts it open. We've made only 2 changes this year. I go back, like, he's not done. And I just love that about it, because it should never be done. It's a living, breathing, literally backdrop for this tournament. And it's going to be really difficult. And it happens now to be on the eve of the U.S. Open. So a lot of what was baked into how I'm approaching some of these golfers is in a fortnight perspective, and not just in a singular perspective, because they're looking at this from a fortnight perspective. We might as well, and we need to respect that this week.
As for the betting markets for the competitors here this week, there are 73 of them at Muirfield Village, by the way. Scotty Scheffler has the shortest odds on the board. However, not as short as we've seen on a few occasions this year. We've seen Scotty at plus 275, I think, a few times. So you're getting plus 400 this week for Scheffler. Are they short odds? Yeah, of course. Does it represent more value than you're going to get most weeks with Scotty? Yeah, I think so, Rob.
It feels like a promotional play when the odds go into your favor, don't they, with the guy? Because, I mean, Scotty Scheffler, it reminds me a lot of the old time betting where he wouldn't be on the board in some instances. There's like,
right.
Then, and of course, there are the markets where it's anybody but Scotty Scheffler to play well, and that's going to generate maybe more of a handle for a lot of the other golfers. And, that's going to be more enticing, because if the guy's going to win all the time, then why would you bet anybody else in the other markets? So you got to be smart about it, and the houses are smart about that. Now he's post being a father. He's post having the experience with the arrest in Louisville, although he talked candidly about how, there's still a process to that. And that makes sense too, because we're all digesting this third party in real time, and he's living through it. And a lot of this is, obviously knows everything that's going on. So, but he's still so unfazed and unflappable and stoic and all these great things. And plus he happens to be a really good golfer on a course where he's finished third in his last 2 appearances. If you were going to predict what could knock this guy a kilter, it would have been becoming a father. It would have been this surprise of being in handcuffs at a major championship. And it just isn't. It's just so damn impressive. There's nothing more I can add. I mean, there's absolutely nothing. And even when he seems to be, bothered by an injury, everybody wants to be off board. That hasn't affected him negatively either. So it's good to be young. It's good to be really athletic. It's good to have the balance he has and the support that he has. It's the model for what is the best right now, and he continues to want to play a lot. And here he is again this week, and he should be 4-1 to win, if not shorter. So grab that if you want to, but then explore other markets, of course.
He also delivered a very classy eulogy of Grayson Murray this week at Muirfield Village, a memorial service that was held there. And to me, it's just the latest evidence and confirmation that as a player, as a person, Scottie Scheffler on the PGA Tour is unparalleled right now, simply unparalleled. He's atop the power rankings as well. Victor Hovland is number 6, Rob. He's the defending champion. There wasn't a whole lot to get excited about for the first chunk of Victor's season. Reconnected with Joe Mayo, his longtime coach, in advance of the PGA Championship. He looked like the old Victor, like the guy who won the FedEx Cup a year ago. And you're getting some pretty healthy value with Victor this week at plus 1,600 to successfully defend.
He was one of the 4 top 5 props that have connected for me in sleepers. I don't think it's a monkey on my back anymore. It seems to be a real strength that market. So that he connected was one of them, and it wasn't projecting as much. Says a lot about what that is meaning to me personally and how I'm evolving in this space. I'm learning a ton as a result of it. And it's a lot of just listening to the golfers or continuing to listen to the golfers. And in his case, taking that break, being honest, being forthright, and a guy of that caliber, we're going to know everything he does. He can't hide. So sometimes we can overanalyze, and you be really careful about that. The break was the biggest thing. And the fact that he still played incredibly well despite the changes he was making last year, obviously winning the FedEx Cup. Another guy who just rolls out of bed and is ready for a top 10 at worst. So the fact that he's getting 16-1 odds, as you said, for a victory to defend. Scottie Scheffler set the precedent at the Players as the first time ever defending champion. I don't put Victor Hovland in that category. Certainly wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not reaching that far for him. He is number 6 in the power rankings. I would still like to see one more example of how good he is again. And over the context of time, a lot of times we've seen this with Jordan Spieth. We've seen this with Jason Day and others. You start to when was the slump again? I remember him, having this real rough stretch. And Hovland, it's not really that bad. So we're back into that mindset now. We're we just got to pump the brakes on our concern and realize these guys, sometimes the more they say, the worse it is. And you just got to take a step back and realize this is who they are. They're processing it, and they're still going to go out there and compete and give it everything they got. So confidence remains very high. In Hovland, I would say, though, a top 10 would be the expectation this week specifically, however.
There have been 2 major championships this season, resulting in 2 missed cuts for Wyndham Clark. He's hoping that trend doesn't continue next week at Pinehurst when he defends his U.S. Open title. Clark is at plus 5,000 here this week, Rob, and you like the fit in particular for Wyndham at Muirfield Village, right?
We know what we're getting in the guy. It's going to be a podium finish or it's going to be a missed cut. And, if you don't mind living in the world of coin flips, then he's for you. Kurt Kitayama, again, a guy like that. There are guys. There's no short-term memory. We think of Dustin Johnson back in the day. Same thing. Just didn't matter. And he come back and he's competing again and winning again. So one pebble with that course record in 54 holes, there's a bit of an asterisk on that for me, even though he's Wyndham Clark and he won that tournament and it's a signature event this year. But again, he, as you said, he missed the cut in the major. So it's just, there's a grain of salt. Either you're all in or all out. I can't go against the guy because he's so talented. And it's not like I don't want him to make me look bad. That happens all the time. It's not about me. It's about the prospect. And so you hit on it when you said the fit for Muirfield Village, what he does best. Yes, we could say that almost every week. But on the eve of the U.S. Open, again, 2-week thought process here. Yes, we have the Travelers Championship the week after that. I've already been thinking about, I wonder how much of a respite that's going to be for the guys that are playing this week and next week, and how much fun that's going to be for them, and how much they're probably already looking forward to that sort of exhale. We'll get to that later. On difficult golf courses, I can't get away from the guy yet. Until he does an 0 for 4 in the majors, I'm in a single season, I'm not worried. And obviously next week is next week. But his game is such a great fit, and I think overall that presents a really nice speculative value for us in the betting world and in fantasy, where he's going to be under-owned, and that's the time to strike and just surround him. Remember, the cut's only low 50 in ties, and those within 10 shots of the lead this week. So that's really favorable for him to go 4 rounds no matter what, and we can see what he can do in a single round. And this golf course of 67 is going to be an incredible score, and he certainly has that within him, if not lower.
You just can't quit Wyndham. I get it. We have a converging trends alert. I feel like we need a sound effect. Let's get the man behind the curtain, Chris Sinclair, on that one. We need a sound effect.
Summon the dog next door if that's the kind of noise we're looking for right now. I don't know if that's a positive, but it is a sound effect.
Well played. I'm talking about Ben On, the runner-up at Muirfield Village in 2018, the owner of a runner-up finish this season, along with 4 top 4 finishes. I think he's the only player who's been in the top 10 of the FedEx Cup rankings the entire season. Quiet, yet remarkable productivity from Ben On this year, and great value as well at plus 5,000 this week. I feel like he's going to catch a lot of action.
He went back to the Korn Ferry Tour a couple of years ago and figured it out. It was 1 year process, if not shorter. I mean, he won early and essentially just played out the string so that he would retain position to get back to the PGA Tour. So if we were going to have a conversation like we seem to have every other week about the best player without a PGA Tour victory, Tommy Fleetwood's obviously on that list. Cameron Young is on that list, and many of Denny McCarthy, who has a couple of top 5 finishes in this tournament in the last 2, he's on that list. And Ben On, he's on that list. Hits it long. He's doing everything so well. His putting is incredible. But he's now entering that category as he's scaled all the way back to the PGA Tour. Now he's in these big, deep fields, and it's just going to be more difficult to win. And he hasn't done that yet on the PGA Tour. It'll happen. He's too talented. So he's, 50 to 1 to win at BetMGM as we're speaking. It's happened here before. We've seen it. Different construct of the field. It's always strong, but par being a good score, and the course always battling, and the wind. Sometimes the draw can play into effect. I don't think it's going to be a big deal this week. But nevertheless, these are the factors that we consider. He had a big shot, like a 3-shot lead at the WM several years ago and didn't win that. So we seemed pretty confident about going into that final round and didn't get it done. There's everything to love about this guy right now. So if, again, there was a prop or a market for breakthrough champion this week, Robert McIntyre is no longer on that list, and he withdrew from this tournament earlier. So it would be a second consecutive week for something like that. Yeah, I kind of would dig it. He would probably get my endorsement for that particular bet. Now, as it pertains to the rest of the field, again, like Hovland, default into a top 10. Be safe about it.
There are no traditional sleepers in a field of 73. We'll acknowledge that disclaimer, as we always do, and that's why you get long odds on somebody of Will Zalatoris's caliber. It almost seems unfair, big fella, plus 6,000 for Willie Z this week, huh?
Yeah, and again, a little bit like Wyndham Clark, and a lot of Patrick Cantlay is not necessarily in terrific form entering an event where he's had incredible success, second all time in earnings behind Tiger Woods at the Memorial. The odds will reflect a little bit of that, sending us a little bit of a slack in terms of hey, here he is. And the back injury, again, it's like sometimes we can blow these things out of proportion. There are so many examples of guys who have recently had little things that have been bothering them, and they go out and win. I mean, we saw Scheffler play very well through the injury he had recently. I mean, it's like, oh, that's right, he was injured. Well, yeah, that day it blew up the internet. Now you forget about it. So that's the kind of context I'm coming from. So Zalatoris sat out the Byron Nelson hometown event, and it was his only break over a 6-week period. So, and if I was going to have a power rankings of all the outright sleepers this year, he'd be probably pretty darn near the top of it for this week's event. So confidence is high in him, and he's already has a top 5 in this tournament. So he's already figured it out a little bit in the renovation. So it's just a matter of getting out there, and again, he's looking ahead to the U.S. Open. So, yeah, man, there's nothing but positive vibes for this guy, and I like these guys who we know who are not playing well. I know it doesn't necessarily inspire you or a lot of other people, but I like that. That's where the angles are, and they're going to play well at some point. Victor Hovland just proved that at the PGA Championship.
One last quick thought here. It's not often you'll get a top 30 prop available in the markets for a field of 73, but you do have one this week. And my man here is touting a young fella named Jackson Koivin, who's making his PGA Tour debut this week in this field of 73 with the world's best. That ain't bad. Basically trying to finish in the top half of the field, and you're getting plus value at plus 200.
He's actually shorter than Nick Dunlap, who should also be in college. Koivin is a sophomore at Auburn this fall. He's already 13 points into the PGA Tour University Accelerated. Tops or behind Gordon Sargent, who deferred his membership till 2025. Yeah, and why not? I mean, I can't imagine what these guys are making with the NIL these days. It's insane. So why have to? You wouldn't have to jump. So it's nice to have that in the back pocket. But Koivin swept all of the awards you can. Only player to do that. He's a freshman at Auburn. Led Division I in scoring. He's done it all already, and has a moxie about him. He looks athletic. That doesn't hurt. I mean, so many kids do, but like he looks the part. He's got that saunter about him already. It's a quiet confidence. He's gonna be really exciting to watch over time. And so let's go ahead and turn the spotlight on him this week for a top 30. And he's only 2-1 for that. Come on. There are 15 golfers in the field. A couple of them already won this year. Dunlap is one of them. Matthew Pavone is another one, who are longer for that market the last time I looked at it. So really respectful. And, of course, everybody wants to jump on the shiny new toy. That's exactly what Koivin is. But, it's a little bit of a traditional sleeper for me, too. Pay a little attention to this guy. We're going to learn a little bit about him. Obviously, the first time I've ever written about him because it's his PGA Tour debut. So how about doing that in a signature event at Jack's house after everything he's just accomplished? What a bonus. Everything to gain. So much to learn. And gosh darn it, the cut is favorable. And you know what? Maybe he'll actually play well. Wouldn't that be something else? So a great story to watch this week. And I know so many people are excited about it as well.
$4 million to the winner, along with 700 FedEx Cup points at this week's Memorial Tournament hosted by Jack Nicklaus. All the great content from Rob Bolton, the Golfbet Insider on PGATour.com, and you can follow him on X at Rob Bolton Golf. I will have some days off next week at the U.S. Open, big fella. We will reconvene in a fortnight for the Travelers Championship. Look forward to it.
Very well. And very quickly, shout out to my man, Ryan O'Sullivan. He is the amateur partner of Kyle Cottom at the BMW Charity Pro-Am at Thornblade in Greenville, South Carolina. That's where Ryan lives and plays out of. And keep an eye on them, favorite them on your leaderboard, and we'll see how they do.